Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's Wolf Johnson back again with another reaction. I say good morning, forgetting that you could be watching this at any time of day, probably not watching it at 4 a.m. as I record it. I couldn't sleep this morning. Usually I can't sleep, but, you know, usually get up around this time to go for a run. But I want to get a reaction in. I just feel that way. So let's do it. We're going to look at Ren's Power. Are you ready? This one's been requested several times, and I think it's time that we fulfill those requests. Here we go.
Get it? Power.
Woo!
These kids don't play my shit, I never had a top 10. Maybe it's cause I sing about violence and depression. They say don't blame these kids, just focus on yourself, friend. Well, if they don't like what I'm doing now, then fuck them. Don't trip, I up the ante, learning licks like John Pashanti, smoking spliffs and popping candy, idolizing Sid and Nancy. Woo! Rock and roll in my soul, bumping, knocking cold on the dole, fish and chips and games consoles, council house and violent flow. But life went sweet at home, mum and dad took a trip and they split shalom. What will be, but me, I hate to see my mum alone. Late night crying, get so high to try to silence sounds of fighting. Through the walls I heard love dying, so I focused on my... That's what it was, I focused on my... Now let's go back. These kids don't play my shit, I never had a gold plaque. My style is old school, but I swear this ain't a throwback. I put my visions into rhythms on a dope track. To understand the place I'm coming from, let's go back. When I was 16, I was a sick teen, I was a victim of my head. I was just 16, up in the kitchen, racking up lines till my nose bled. 16, in an affliction, in an addiction with my dread. I was just 16, I was quite sick then, I was a prick then, I was a pleb, but... fuck it, we're all misguided individuals, life can suck it. My cup ain't half full, man, I'm filling up the whole bucket. I'll drink my tears so I can drown my sorrow, sing like I might die tomorrow, live note for note, I go for broke on every single song I wrote. And every single song I write brings freedom to my weary mind. A healing that you'll only find inside an intricate design of kicks and snares and fat bass lines. I flip the script until I find my... It is what it is. I focus on my... Now run the track. Get it? Get it? Power. Get it?
What a crazy beat. That is hard. That beat is so hard. That reminds me of early Kanye West. Around the time he was kind of starting to really saturate the mainstream with that sound, with those sped up, not sped up, they're pitched samples. Take these really classical sounding, with these classic samples, and then make them sound modern, contemporary. And when I first heard that kind of style, I thought it was weird. I'm like, this isn't technically how you're supposed to do things, right? But it just fits because it works. It becomes a different instrument. It transforms it from what it originally was and makes it something new. Did Ren produce this beat? That is so hard, which is funny because the lyrical context And this song is really wholesome, like in a way. It's about, I mean, what I'm interpreting is like centering in on the things that you can control in life. Your power. What can I do? And we often forget in this life, which is so riddled with problems, if we want to call them that, just the ebbs and flows of life. Things are all constantly thrown in our face, even if it's not something that's happening directly to us or within our direct periphery. You're fed problems. So it's really difficult for a lot of us to remember that there are things that we can do. I had a huge issue like in 2018, just like this existential crisis of just like feeling overwhelmed and powerless. It crippled me for like 2 months. I would be awake. Like I barely slept for 2 months, just reading nonstop philosophy to try and reconcile what I was going through. And it wasn't the first time I was met with any sort of existential dread. I had faced it a lot as a young teenager. But sometimes you just slip and you can forget if it's too overwhelming. If you allow yourself to be of the environment at which you're actually walking, you forget that you yourself are walking. And you could change direction. KRS-One has this great quote that is, if you want to escape Armageddon, read a different book. And it goes back to these things that we can control. So this beat is super hard, in my opinion. And you might hear it with no context of, other hip hop, but like you could look at a Cameron song, he's pretty hard, despite his choice in colors for his attire. He's pretty hard. Diplomats, stuff like that. So I love this beat. Like I would listen to just this beat on loop. But Ren's rapping ability is, again, highly proficient. He clearly can rap. There's a lot of people saying, like, I've seen a few comments and headlines is Ren better than Eminem? I'm thinking, like, let's just slow down here, okay? You have to understand, Eminem is, for lyricists, probably he's in the conversation for the greatest of all time. We're talking lyricism, wordplay, stuff like that. There are a lot of phenomenal rap, like Black Thought and stuff like this. I like Ren as a rapper. From what I've heard, he's incredible. I think, and so I say this, I'll preface this by saying, when I'm thinking of like a greatest rapper of all time, I'm looking at a huge catalog and body of work that is like focused hip hop. And I think this is just a shortcoming of how we've been given music. Though we're seeing a lot more with like Dirt Miller, right? He's a genre fusion. He's doing some rapping and some other things. I wonder how we're going to break this down moving forward. Or how society will. I know how I will break it down. I break things down as techniques, right? So when I'm making songs that other people would deem as rap music, I'm just saying, like, I'm just writing poetry, and usually they happen to rhyme. But sometimes I'll just stop rapping and do something that doesn't rhyme at all. But to me, it's a technique that can be employed in any genre of music, or a written word or spoken word. You can start rapping if you're doing poetry, right? It's a technique. So people want to say, Ren, is he better than Eminem? He's different than Eminem. Like, it's not an apples to apples comparison to compare him to any rapper, because he is essentially doing everything himself with this artistic and creative intent that could really go in any direction if he wants to. So for me, it's tough to lean on that kind of question. Is he better than Eminem? Because it's not an apples to apples comparison. I think Ren is a more well-rounded artist. I think he's a more complete artist than like Eminem. But I don't know that I would have the evidence to show that he's a better rapper than Eminem. And I just think it's a silly question to raise. So when Ren puts out rap music, I look at this the same way as, say, like a Saul Williams, who came into hip hop as a spoken word poet. And his catalog is not only hip hop or rap, it is this cornucopia of textures and sounds that employ things like hip hop. They employ like punk and rock, things like that. So I think the dialogue on this, Ren's rapping ability, I just want to shift from that and look at it as artistry instead. Because he chooses to do rap. He chooses to employ rap when he could really deliver the same message in probably any style that he wants, because he's so versatile. Did I answer anybody's questions there? Probably not. Anyways, I really like this track. I like how wholesome the message is, because we live in a time where it's not so often you see somebody sounding so hard, delivering a message that is reassuring to the human spirit, that offers some guidance and can offer a pathway to healing if you're struggling. So I think that's important, because too often people come into hip hop, and I know some people who are out putting out really great sounding records, and they sound really hard, talking about dealing drugs and all this stuff. And I think Ren touched on this on one of his interviews. It's like I know them personally, and I know that is not their experience. You know what I mean? So, but it is a way to get on, unfortunately. So it's great, Ren. I have a lot of respect for you for doing this kind of messaging, this kind of lyrical context. And if you produce this beat, dope beat. Anyways, let me know what you think about this one. What's the next one I should check out? Yeah, hope everyone's having a great day. Peace. You're too busy moving your units and don't assume they'll prove it. Zoom ahead.